That's so funny, because that was kind of often Celine and I would have these discussions. She goes, yes, Guy is just this man walking into a burning building. And I'm sort of thinking like, that does feel like I'm really dumb. But
I wouldn't actually even say man. I'd be like...
Yeah, you're like a baby.
You're like a toddler.
And I was like, I was like, all right, okay.
I was like, if a toddler's running into a burning building, like, it's not going to sit well with you if you don't save them. She doesn't really want to save him, but like...
But you do help me quite a few times.
And the building's burning, so...
Hello, this is Michael R. from Den of Geek here at San Diego Comic-Con 2025, and I'm with the cast of Talamasca, The Secret Order, and the showrunners, of course, as well. Welcome, everyone.
Woo!
Thank you.
Thank you.
It does take place in Anne Rice's world. However, because it's not based on a book, not that the other two shows have been that faithful to the books, but does this give you a little bit more creative freedom to just kind of float in your own version of this?
It does. I think it's nice to have Anne's work as a backstop and to know that she created this organization and talks about it a decent amount. And we have characters from her books, but we don't have to follow the strict plot construction of anything with regard to a Talamasca book. Well, the actors here play characters that are original characters and aren't in Anne Rice books. Not to say that there aren't other characters in the series and that will be in the series that don't come directly from Anne's work.
So let's talk a little bit about the Motherhouse idea, because I believe if we're dealing with the lore that's already in place, the London Motherhouse exists. But tell us a little bit how you've taken it a little bit broader than that.
Our idea from the start was that the mother houses, while they're all part of this one organization, they have kind of an independent spirit to them, and they have their own character and their own color. And the London Mother House, in our version of the story, is going a bit dark. And you come to find over the course of the first season why that is and who is at the head of all that. But the idea of a large organization and the difficulty of keeping everybody in line and keeping everybody on mission, I think was just a fun thing to explore, and it has a lot of analogs for us, like in how the spy genre works. And so it was just really fun to actually take this concept that had not ever been explored in one of Anne's books, and to say, well, what would be the logical story if you actually had to keep an organization like this running and keep it together?
Now, Nicholas, you're kind of the audience's proxy here, bringing us into this world. Tell us about bringing in your character to this secret order.
So I play Guy Anatol, who is kind of a figure that kind of gives the audience the perspective on what's going on. He's a skeptic. He's gone through a lot in his life. And at this point where we meet him, he's kind of gotten it back together, only to have it all taken away from him by the Talamasca. So when we have Helen introduced in the first episode, she reveals that his entire life has been a lie. Everything that he has been brought up knowing and more or less doing has all been planned, plotted, and tested by the Talamasca. So he is this almost free of anything that holds him to his own reality, if that makes sense. He has nothing. And all he wants to do right now is find out what he could have been, what his potentials for the future are, and where the hell he came from.
Now, William, you're an American leading the London Motherhouse. How exactly did that happen? And it seems very strange.
I'm not sure we should be talking about this, buddy. First of all, Nick's journey is all about trying to be friends with me. Let's just call it the way it is.
This has been this theme,
Listen, all I can say is that the backstory of why the character of Jasper is in London is probably the number one reason why I was really excited to take this journey, because of the backstory of everybody and what brought him to this point. Like Nick was saying, his backstory in this nomadic life, really, when he finds out that it's not really grounded, and eventually it will be. But all the characters have that element. But there's such rich history with all of them. It makes it a worthwhile experience.
Now, Maisie, we have a lot of people with powers and a little bit of psychicness going on here, but you have more traditional spycraft skills. Can you tell us a little bit about what your specialty is all about.
My specialty is my brain. I feel like she's whip smart. She's an expert spy. She's a master of disguise, and she's very good at reading people and what their needs and wants are, and manipulating those to get what she needs and wants out of them. And she's Guy's handler, and he's a real handful. And I think at the beginning, she's looking at this kid who's just rocked up. And he's like, he's just another guy. Like, what's special about him? And over the season, she learns, and then what does she do with that information?
Your character is described as ambitious. Is there a little bit of tension between Elizabeth McGovern's character and you, or?
Definitely. I think Olive really wants to be given the position and the value that she feels like she deserves. And I think that Helen is wary of Olive's of her ability. And so she tries to keep her just at bay. And they definitely they butt heads at sometimes, and I think that's about as much as I can say for now.
Everything's very tight.
Celine, I want to talk a little bit about your character because I just think it's such a great concept to have a coven of witches on a houseboat. What's the rationale behind that, and how are you embedded with them?
Well, that specific coven is a coven that really keeps themselves to themselves. And Doris is a character who, in this supernatural world, basically you've got the Talamasca to control the bad guys effectively and keep the peace. But Doris doesn't believe that the Talamasca necessarily is the better guy. It doesn't believe that the Talamasca is the good guy. Not that she doesn't believe that the bad guys are bad. I think she just doesn't trust anyone. And so that's why she ends up with this specific coven, because they stay under the radar, they keep themselves to themselves, and they have a sense of community. And so when she ends up meeting Guy through circumstances I won't divulge, she gets sort of dragged out of that, and I think resents it slightly, but also sees this guy who is basically thinks he's got everything under control, but is basically running into a burning building, and that plucks her out of her safety.
That's so funny, because that was kind of often Celine and I would have these discussions. She goes, yes, Guy is just this man walking into a burning building. And I'm sort of thinking that does feel like I'm really dumb. But
I wouldn't actually even say man. I'd be like...
Yeah, you're like a baby.
You're like a toddler.
And I was like, all right, okay.
I was like, if a toddler's running into a burning building, it's not going to sit well with you if you don't save them. She doesn't really want to save him, but
you do help me quite a few times.
And the building's burning. So
this brings up a question that I wanted to ask, because a lot of times when you have a team show like this, you need some comic relief and some levity. Is there room for that in this show?
Absolutely, yes. I think that one of the first things that John and I talked about was, while we really wanted the entire world to feel grounded and have this not feel like a big, we wanted to make it not as operatic as maybe some other shows. Interview is amazing. Mayfair is awesome. I think we wanted to carve out our own path. But I think, strangely enough, to be grounded, you also have to have levity. Real life is funny, and there's a lot of absurd situations that our characters get themselves into. Our fourth episode is just one big antic romp, and I think it just as you're going through the spy world, it's just it is kind of fun to take a detour and end up in a place that gives you a laugh and that is fun, and it's a thrill ride.
It's called Anne Rice's Immortal Universe, and once you put the word universe in there, Marvel has decreed that it must cross over. And fortunately, we are just making an announcement at the panel today that Eric Bogosian is coming over for a little guest spot. How much can you say about that at all? What are you going to be talking about at the panel regarding that?
Mark. Well, I didn't realize it had been revealed. We have... Between the three shows, there is some real commonality with characters. There'll be some surprises in Talamasca, some that you expect, some that you don't suspect, some at the very beginning, some embedded into the season. And don't be surprised at all if you see one of these characters in either Interview or Mayfair Witches.
That's as it should be. I'm also thinking of Raglan James, which is one of the few named Talamasca from Anne Rice. There's possibilities there. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
It could happen. It could happen.
Well, I can't wait for everyone to discover this show along with us here. The premiere is being announced as October 26th at 9 on AMC. So join the cast and creators then to keep going deeper into Anne Rice's Immortal Universe. Thanks for joining me, everyone.
Thanks
Thank
so
you.
much.